Laura and welcome to M2 News. I'm India.
And I'm Max Power. In today's stories, a new crime wave is sweeping the country in the form of woolen graffiti. Scientists have invented an invisibility cloak. We help them find it. And the latest in weather around the country. But first, a story that will turn your world upside down.
If you think the world is getting more and more topsy-turvy, it turns out you're right. Builders in Germany have built an upside-down house, and before you think they may have read the plans upside down, they did it on purpose. The wacky abode was built as a tourist attraction. As well as being a comment on the state of the world, the house 23 feet tall and rests on its roof. It has steel beams in the attic. Inside the house there are 2 beds screwed into the ceiling, upside-down wardrobes, an upside-down kitchen, and even an upturned bathroom. Though it's not known that anyone has tried to have a bath in it or go to the toilet, normally a house like this would take 3 weeks to build. This one took over 4 months because the workers kept getting confused by the strange angles of the walls. Many tourists visiting the house complain of feeling sick and dizzy just after a few minutes inside. We now cross over to our reporter Els Bells, who is inside the house. How are you feeling, Els Bells?
Thanks, India. I'm here with the owner of the house, Mildred, and I'm feeling great. So what made you decide to build your house upside down?
Well, I always felt that I was different, so I thought I might build my house upside down to fit in.
Yeah, I can tell by your outfit. So what comment about the house do you think makes the state of the world?
Dude, the world is so cool.
Okay. What are some of the challenges of living in a house where everything's upside down?
Having to go to the toilet, but I'm not going to dig into that.
Yeah, okay. Are there any shout-outs you want to make?
Mum, can I have McDonald's for tea?
Yeah, okay. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I'm Els Bells from M2 News. Back to you, India, in the studio.
Thanks, Els Bells. Even watching that makes me feel dizzy. And now for a story that is truly out of sight. Look at Harry Potter. The world of science is catching up to the world of magic. Scientists in Europe have created a 3D invisibility cloak which can hide objects by bending light waves. It has been found out that light can be controlled using tiny crystals that make objects disappear. So far, scientists have made small objects such as coins disappear, but hope that it won't be long before they are hiding cars, planes, and even people. People have always dreamed of making themselves invisible, one top scientist says. The possibilities are endless, and we are very excited. However, since the inventing of the invisibility cloak, scientists have been having trouble finding it. As soon as we put it down somewhere, it disappears. The inventor of the cloak said. It appears that they are having trouble finding other things too, like their lunch, which they think might be under the cloak. What will this invention actually be used for? Hoping to see through the reasons behind the invisibility cloak, here is our spot reporter Isabel with more on this.
Hi, I'm Isabel, and I'm here today with Victorious, one of the scientists behind the invisibility cloak. Hi Victorious, and thanks for joining us today. What made you want to invent an invisibility cloak?
Well, I heard some rumours that people were planning to invent an invisibility cloak, so I got to work and I started to invent it.
Can you tell me how the invisibility cloak works?
Well, the invisibility cloak works by bending light and therefore making whatever is in the area of light invisible, like so.
What do you hope the invisibility cloak will be used for?
It's already being used for small objects and people, but hopefully in the future it'll be used for cars, maybe even planes.
When do you think the invisibility cloak will be available to the public?
Well, considering how unstable the resources needed to build an invisibility cloak are, well, it won't be for a couple of years yet.
Well, that makes things very clear. We're out of time. Back to you, India, in the studio.
Thanks, Isabel. And now, how's for an interesting yarn? A new wave of graffiti crime is covering the country, thanks to an underground gang known as the Midnight Knitters. These wall-waving criminals are covering tree branches and lampposts with small jerseys and scarves under the cover of darkness. Police say that knitters' activities in the gang are illegal because the woolly crimes are being done on public property. Without permission, the popularity of woolen graffiti is growing more and more public. Objects are being wrapped up every night. But the problem is growing because the people warn that the midnight knitters aren't caught soon. Every tree, lamppost and traffic light in the country will be warmly dressed against the cold. The problem is spinning out of control. They're a close-knit group dyed in the wool. Criminals are stitching together a case, but it's not seamless. There are no real pattern to the crimes. A police spokesman said today, so far the criminal knitters have escaped arrest and continue to pull wool over the eyes of both the public and the police. We now go to a secret location with our investigative reporter Richard, who has an exclusive interview with one of the Midnight Knitters gang.
Thanks, India. Joining with me now in this top secret location are Steve-O and Snehal, two people from the Midnight Knitters gang. So, Steve-O, when did you start knitting?
Well, I started knitting when I was 3 and I got taught by my mum.
Snehal, what brought you to the dark underworld of knitted graffiti?
Well, it all happened when I was 12 years old. I looked at all the graffiti signs. Then I imagined knitting them all. And that's exactly what I've done.
Apart from traffic lights, lamp posts and skateboards, what else would you like to graffiti?
Buildings.
Who's your inspiration?
My inspiration is my grandmother. She always used to knit and do other stuff like that. Then when I saw a needle and a ball of wool, I kept poking it, and then I enjoyed it, and that's exactly what happened.
Thanks for your time. Now we're crossing over to Nick with the weather.
Thank you, Richard, and good evening, New Zealand. Let's have a look at tomorrow's weather. Starting in the far north in Kaitaia, look out for some pretty flash flooding and raindrops as big as your head. If you're going outside, please wear a hat. Moving down to Auckland, there'll be a mix of fair conditions and unfair conditions. But those are the conditions, and you'll just have to accept them. There will be no weather at all for the Bay of Plenty. It's taking a short holiday, but is expected to be back for the weekend. In the Napier and the Hastings, the weather will sometimes be changeable, and sometimes not. We really have no idea what will happen there. In the Taranaki, a mild depression brings a very dull day with no highlights at all. It'll be overcast and gloomy all morning, but things should cheer up by the evening, so don't worry. Everything will be fine. Wellington will have another capital day. There'll be no wind at all, and the day conditions will be so pleasant they'll actually be extreme. To the top of the South Island, Kaikoura can expect to have a good day, meeting friends for a lunch, going for a swim, or maybe reading the newspapers. But try to stay indoors, as the weather will be just terrible. A real mix for Christchurch, which will have some unreasonable rainfall, some sensible wind, moderate thunderstorms, and some of very angry snow. In the lower south, Dunedin will be frosty, cold and unfriendly until late morning, when the sun will pop over for a visit. Everybody likes the sun. That's all from me. Remember, if it's raining outside, that's the weather for you. Good night, New Zealand. Now it's back to the news desk with India and Max Power.
Nicola, well that's all we have time for.
We hope you have enjoyed this evening's broadcast. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you again next time.
Until then, I'm India.
And I'm Max Power for M2 News.
Goodbye, e nohura.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Roll the camera. Okay.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight we are featuring an interview with a very peculiar-looking gentleman.
Scene 1, take 1. Scene 1, take 2. Take two.